What's up, everybody? Ben Rasa and Matt Gajewski here for Awesemo Odds, and we are back with another college football betting video sponsored by our friends at BetMGM. If you have not been to at BetMGM and you are a new user, sign up using the description and the link in this video, and you are going to get a risk-free bet of up to $1,000. In addition, you're going to get 3 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum. It's going to cover you for every sport on the betting and DFS side, from college football to the NFL to the NBA to hockey to everything that we have. No reason not to take an advantage. Terms and conditions apply, but go check that out. All right, Matt, it is week 10, and that is a special week in college football because the playoffs have been unveiled. The first set of rankings, we're going to talk about that at the end of this video. But before that, let's dive into some plays. I know you've looked at the card. I have looked at the card. Where are you getting things started here with your betting week?
What I was really surprised by was Michigan State coming in as just a field goal favorite. If you had this early in the week, you could have found 2.5 out there. But they're playing a Purdue team, and they're coming off an immense come-from-behind win against Michigan. But what it comes down to for Michigan State is I think outside of the undefeated record, they still hold a lot of advantages against a Purdue team, which has shown some weaknesses this year. Purdue as a team, they've been really up and down. We've seen the marquee wins, them beating Iowa. We've also seen some troubling losses. They have dropped games to Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Notre Dame. And what it comes down to for me is, will Purdue be able to keep up and score with Michigan State, a team that's been both efficient on the ground and through the air when they've needed to be? Peyton Thorne, very efficient passer with his two alphas in Jaden Reed and Jalen Naylor. You've seen this Purdue team below 20 points in 4 of their last 6 games. And again, that's coming against Big Ten West competition. And that is coming despite their preference to throw the ball at a very high rate and play with a lot of plays per game. When people first take a look at this matchup, I think one trap they might fall into is the fact that Michigan State is allowing over 300 yards passing per game. However, when we break this down to a per attempt basis, Michigan State's passing defense is actually a little bit better than Purdue's, only 6.6 yards per pass attempt compared to Purdue at 6.7. And then by far the best matchup in the game comes for Michigan State against Purdue's run defense. And we all know what Kenneth Walker has done to some of the best competition in the country, evidenced by his game against Michigan last week. The last matchup advantage I think Michigan State will employ is taking care of the best defender on Purdue, George Karlaftis, and I think they'll be able to do so like they did to Hutchinson last week, which is going to be key for them. Karlaftis, one of the best pass rushers in the country, as is Hutchinson, and they just dedicated a little more resources to mitigating that. If they can do the same thing with Karlaftis here, I think Michigan State runs away with the game.
And how many times have we seen, Michigan State has just been a clear undervalued team going all the way back. I mean, it looks hilarious now. Michigan State was a slight dog to Northwestern to open this season. They have been a slight favorite in some of these weird road games. Teams like Indiana, teams like Rutgers, and they have answered every challenge. I do think Purdue presents some unique challenges, but as you mentioned, there's some clear advantages with Kenneth Walker on the ground and just the way that Michigan State does play. So I am on board with you there. I actually I'll be honest, I wanted to bet Purdue. I can't believe this line. I thought this would be around a touchdown, and I was going to have some interest possibly in the home team, but you're talking 3, maybe 2.5 out there. I got to go with you on that. I'm going to stick in the Big Ten. I'm going to go to a spread that's a little more lofty, but at the same time, I think this is the best team in the Big Ten, and it's Ohio State. It was 14. You sent me the red alert on Sunday night. I was not able to get 14. It is up to 15, but I still lay 15 points here. They go into Nebraska to take on a Cornhusker team. I'll say this, they keep games close. They haven't been blown out. They're also 3-6 on the year, and it's just a middling team overall. They don't score a ton of points. They don't give up a ton of points either, but they have not simply played many teams like Ohio State because there just aren't that many teams like that. And you look at Ohio State, somewhat of a sluggish start to the year, and then they have found it. You mentioned to me on Betting You, our exclusive college football betting podcast, that CJ Stroud, the way he's going, could get in the Heisman conversation, and it's hard to argue with that. They have ripped off 33 or more points in their last 6 wins, and that is because of the Penn State game. 41 or more in 5 of 6, 52 or more points in 4 of 6 of those games. They are just absolutely decimating teams offensively. They've got 2 of the best receivers in the country. Okay, you want to take that away? they have Travion Henderson in the backfield, who's handling a man-sized workload, just absolutely dominant. I think they whip them up front. And then the last thing I'll say, Matt, Ohio State's defense, while I don't think it's an elite team, they have gotten significantly better as the season goes on. I think they keep Nebraska to a marginal point output. Even on the road, I think Ohio State wins this going away.
I agree with you, and you made a lot of good points. I think the most important one is, how does Nebraska keep this game close? How do they score with Ohio State? We know Ohio State is going to score against basically any opponent. Their season low in points scored is 28. You mentioned all these games above 30 and above 50, so we know they're going to score. Nebraska, they've only been above 25 points 3 times this year, and 2 of those games came against Northwestern and Fordham. So they've been held within check by even worse competition than Ohio State. They're a fairly one-dimensional team. A lot of what they do comes on the ground with their dual threat Adrian Martinez. Their receiving core is a little bit weaker compared to a lot of competition in the Big Ten, especially Ohio State. I'm with you. I think laying the points here with the Buckeyes is fine.
Shout out to Fordham. Didn't think they would make it into the video, but that's why we do these. All right, before we get to our final topic here, if you haven't, like the video, help us out, subscribe to the channel. We are over 2,000 subs, very, very exciting, but we are marching on towards 3,000. You guys help if we have made you some money or you just enjoy the content. Really, really appreciate it. And also in the comments, let us know, Matt, we want to hear about, are there games on your radar? What is your favorite college football bet this week? And also answer this question: what does your playoff picture look like? Because Matt, we got the rankings out and you had a couple spots in the betting markets that you said, okay, maybe we can take advantage of, because I thought the rankings were absolutely absurd. And I have a feeling you thought that as well.
I did. And there's a couple really good spots to take advantage of. The first one is just a flat out no brainer. And you're laying a lot of juice here, but it's Georgia to make the playoff. I've seen this at minus 1,800. And when you break this down for Georgia, I think they should be closer to minus 5,000, minus 10,000. It's just a spot where it's extremely unlikely they don't make it. You look at the latter half of their schedule this year, we're talking about Missouri, Tennessee, FCS teams, and even in the SEC championship, if they lose that game, the way we've seen the committee weight these SEC teams, Georgia has a really strong chance of getting in. So if you're a person with a massive bankroll and you can lay the juice here, this is one that's still undervalued, even though you do have to lay the juice. And Georgia is my favorite. What else stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, that one, obviously, when you're talking about things like that, it's a different situation. But if you're able to parlay that with something or just attach it, it's not the worst move, because what we're both saying is that if Georgia gets to the SEC championship game and they get blown out, it doesn't matter. They're still going to make it. To me, no matter what, it's just a given.
Yeah, and just to reference that, like, Alabama's minus 160 to make the playoff, and they already have a loss, which suggests that even they have a decent chance of getting in if they have 2 losses in the SEC. So clearly the committee is putting a lot of stock into these SEC teams, this level of competition that Georgia has.
So the one other point that I want to make and bring up, because I'm with you with that, that's obviously an awkward, weird situation. Oregon is a team that's going to be very, very polarizing in the market. When you look at their college football playoff chances, to make it is plus 330, but they have a win at Ohio State. And I think that if they win out, and you talked about this extensively on the podcast, it's going to be a very, very heated discussion to see, A, can a team like Cincinnati jump them? B, can a team like Ohio State jump them even though Oregon beat them? So I do think when you're talking about over 3-1 odds, not that I think they're a favorite to make the playoff, but I think that's one of the best values on the board.
I agree with you 100%. There's a couple things that I do think need to happen, and some of them are likely. Like, Ohio State is still going to play Michigan State this year. That's the number 3 and number 5 team in the country. So Michigan State wins, I think it's status quo. Oregon remains at that number 4 spot. And then if Ohio State wins, obviously Oregon has the head-to-head. So I think you see Oregon sitting at 3, Ohio State sitting at 4. And from there, who else could possibly jump this team? Well, there's Cincinnati. The problem is they're already not putting a lot of weight in Cincinnati's schedule, and their toughest opponent down the stretch is SMU. That's not going to help Cincinnati. They'll need chaos. Then there's Oklahoma. And the one thing I'll say about Oklahoma, they are undefeated. They're not putting a lot of stock into them right now, but their 3 toughest games of the year are their last 3 games of the year, where they'll draw Baylor, Iowa State, and Oklahoma State. Just for your reference, the committee also put Oklahoma State 11, Baylor 12, and Iowa State didn't make the rankings, but we know they're a team that they put a lot of stock in so far this year. So there is a chance that Oklahoma would jump them. With that said, plus 330 is enough to lay even with some of these scenarios we laid out. You're getting them as a significant dog, and there's just a very good path to them making the playoff either way.
No doubt. And again, that's why they are north of 3-1, because Oklahoma is out there. But there is a path, and it's a very interesting dynamic. I think that's worth considering if you're looking to get down some futures with the playoffs. The rest was not great value. So there you go. Couple bets for this week and a couple bets for the long term here with college football. Hit that like button on your way out. Good luck, everyone, and stay tuned for more college football videos and betting breakdowns here at Awesemo Odds.